second to last round of the Formula 1 season takes us to the Japanese Grand Prix, where Tom and Sam continue their championship battle and who is going to take the glory. But let's first of all get into all of the news and headlines heading into this weekend. First things first, Sam has apologised to Lewis after his comments that he made to Lewis to get him out of McLaren. Now first things first, let's just draw back on the entire story just to make sure that we've got a clear understanding of this. Sam had initially requested to McLaren that Lewis was to leave the team. However, McLaren were not keeping everything public towards Sam himself. Basically, McLaren finally admitted that basically Lewis Hamilton was getting extra treatment from McLaren and basically using Lewis Hamilton as a form of teacher for Sam. Sam, of course, came close to winning the World Championship last season, but failed at the final part of the season, and Tom took the title. Sam was very frustrated and angry after finding out that McLaren had been keeping stuff away from him, and also were trying to take away some of Sam's engineers and get Lewis Hamilton the upgrades earlier. Lewis Hamilton also got angry by this, and that has meant that Lewis Hamilton doesn't really want to be at a team where he's just being used as a form of teacher, which is why Hamilton's now leaving. Sam has now gone ahead and apologised to Lewis, in which Lewis has responded back saying that there's nothing harmful in what Sam had to say. He didn't know the entire picture. The two of them are completely fine. Someone that's not completely fine and fancies putting his nose where it doesn't belong is Devon Butler. He's hit out at Sam, saying that he's been extremely rude and unprofessional about the entire situation, and that you should never ever even consider trying to tell your own team to get rid of some of their drivers. It has nothing to do with him, and he needs to stay out of their business. Of course, when you're going to hit out like that, you're going to eventually receive some support, and also you're going to receive some bit of backlash for it. And yet, while the backlash is there, because Tom has come out and defended Sam against this, and he's hit back at Devon Butler, requesting that he grabs himself some lessons in common sense. Of course, Tom is very, very close friends with Sam. Despite the fact that they're currently arch rivals in the championship, they still maintain a strong relationship off track. And with that, obviously, Tom has come in to defend Sam. Of course, Devon Butler has been having major issues with his own teammate Valtteri Bottas, which has been so much more serious to the fact that Devon Butler has requested that he is never to be in a seat again alongside Valtteri Bottas, and Bottas has unfortunately had to leave Audi and sign for Williams because there was nowhere else for him to go because it was such a late decision. So of course, Tom trying to basically throw the hindsight back over in Butler's favour. Speaking of forcing drivers out of other teams, this seems to just be a very good topic that's just popping along all of a sudden. George Russell, as we know, is not going to be at Mercedes next season, which obviously means Reese is going to keep his seat, despite the fact Russell is actually doing better than Reese, although Reese has had a bad season. Now Reese is being accused of forcing George Russell out of Mercedes. Reese has been happy at Mercedes ever since he joined the team. George Russell came to the team this season, finally after such a long journey, and of course it's now all of a sudden unraveled to be quite miserable for him. And now of course it's, oh, was this Reese's fault all of a sudden? And yeah, of course that is eventually going to happen. But yeah, apparently Reese has been showing George Russell the door as well. We'll have to find out and see if Reese really meant all of that. Finally then, let's go and have a look at some of the transfer news then for the Japanese Grand Prix. First things first, Nico Rosberg has turned down Ferrari and has signed a brand new deal with Porsche. Ferrari offered Nico Rosberg an opportunity to come back to the Scuderia after Rosberg initially had a very sour time there when he was partnered alongside Hülkenberg last season. Rosberg, however, has a lot of trust and faith in Porsche and wants to go ahead and continue to strive for better things with the team. So he's not going there, which means Ferrari's options continue to draw ever thinner. Carlos Sainz has signed a brand new Ford deal for next season, but he wants to see improvements. Sainz is currently partnered alongside Pierre Gasly, who are looking to form a great partnership for a new team. However, Sainz, with it being such a rough season, really hasn't had an opportunity to shine in the Ford car and doesn't want all of his talent that he knows that he has wasted. And that's why he's put the deal over towards Ford. I will drive with you again next season, but I need improvements, otherwise I'll be looking elsewhere. A very interesting one that's just come out is that Sam is rumoured to be moving to Mercedes next season. Now, we know that George Russell won't be at Mercedes next year. Sam's contract has not been sealed yet. He doesn't have a deal which keeps him at McLaren, so Sam might be leaving McLaren, which would be very interesting considering all the success that McLaren is currently going through right now. It'd be odd to see him leave, but we'll have to see and wait if that one is true. And finally, according to some sources, Max Verstappen looks to be heading for a seat with Renault next season. Of course, we know that Max Verstappen was inadvertently signed out of Formula 1 and is looking for a way back in. And it looks like Renault could be his seat, but this is all just rumours, so we can't take it literally. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and have a look at the race news heading into this weekend. First things first, Mercedes are struggling with their race pace. They've got very, very good qualifying pace, but in practice anyway, they were struggling with their race pace. Toto Wolff says that it's nothing to be too concerned about. He believes that they can fix that heading into the weekend. Ferrari, unfortunately, are back to their struggling ways. They lost the pace that they regained in Abu Dhabi and seem to be going backwards once again, which is something that the team boss is very much not happy with. But someone who is happy is Nico Rosberg, because he's very happy with the handling of his car. He says he's been having a great time driving the car this weekend and feels that he's got the setup just right to go for it for the Japanese Grand Prix. Speaking of the Japanese Grand Prix, let's get straight into it. It's round number 15. It's the penultimate race of the season. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 Journey for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here for round number 15, the penultimate round of Season 4, and we're here for the Japanese Grand Prix. And unfortunately, this is a round, obviously, that I was kind of dreading, because Japan is not a strong circuit for me, so we'll just have to try and wing it, see how far we can get, and hope for the best. Onto the first lap then, we go in towards the final chicane and we get a little bit of a screen freeze there, which really compromises our second apex of that chicane. And across the line though, it is still a 1 minute 28.6, which does put us crucially in front of Charles Leclerc on his first lap. On our second flying lap then, we're going around 130 out. It's a little bit wide on the exit actually. But as we come towards the chicane now, this time around, I sort of outbroke myself a little bit into the first part. But you can already see there how we've gained at least 0.2 of a second just by taking the alternate route and taking it properly. And that slots us into P7 just behind Reese, but as you can see, it's still 1.1 seconds off the pace. Onto my final run now in qualifying, and this is where we just have to give absolutely everything to try and find as much performance as we can on this occasion. Going in towards the final chicane, even cutting it didn't really make a difference because I've still lost a lot of time on the exit. And it's a bit of karma actually for chopping that final chicane, because I ran out of fuel on the line, so I didn't even improve. I actually stayed where I was. So that's what you get, guys. Don't corner cut, and you'll actually complete your laps properly and gain time from it. But as you can see, if we improved by the 0.3 of a second that we were going to improve by, we still would have ended up in P7. So realistically, it wouldn't have even made a difference to our time. But it is Sam on pole position, ahead of Reese and George Russell. Fernando Alonso in P4, ahead of Hamilton in P5. Then it's Charles Leclerc. Then it's ourselves with Daniel Ricciardo, Vettel and Ocon. And then we've got the two Porsches, Audi cars, and then obviously the Jaguars, Fords and Williams splitting each other down at the back, which is very worrying times, of course, as we are trying to chase this championship down. And when your arch rival is on pole position and you're in P7, yeah, it's not such a good thing. But onto the grid then, we're going to be going from the super softs to the medium tyres. So let's see what we can try and do. We've got 5 red lights then for this Japanese Grand Prix, and it's lights out. We go here to start the Japanese Grand Prix. It's been a good start for Reese up front, actually. George Russell didn't get the best of getaways. Reese really did get a good getaway off the front. Might just actually nick the lead off Sam there in towards the first corner, and he does do just that. We're now going to take the position off of Charles Leclerc and up into 6th place. Then as Ricciardo and Leclerc now scrap through the S sections, but I believe Reese does lead the Grand Prix then, so Reese getting a better start against Sam, and that's really going to help me out in my pursuit of trying to catch these front runners, because I feel like I could probably catch them if Reese was up front as Leclerc and Ricciardo there really battling it out hard as they go into the first Degner corner now. Ricciardo on the inside line, he gets the better run through the first Degner. Through the second Degner, Leclerc gets the better run, and around the outside he takes the position, and that's him now up and remaining in what is now P6. As for us though, just up ahead, we're going down the inside of a couple of cars here in towards the hairpin corner. They bunched up through there, and we overtook Lewis Hamilton and also Fernando Alonso. Now that's much closer towards myself and Sam. Reese leads the Grand Prix, Sam is in second, George Russell is in third, we are now in P4. So we've had a very strong start. Now we've got to try and keep it up, see if I can stay with these front runners, and hope for the best then. On to lap 3 we go of the Grand Prix now, and all of a sudden Reese is under a bit of pressure because Sam is not out of the DRS yet. We're on board with ourselves though, as we look to see if we can deal with Fernando Alonso coming in behind, and luckily we can defend that one off. But my teammate Vettel, who's passed Charles Leclerc somewhere in there, is now going to get overtaken by Charles Leclerc as they go in towards the first corner, but Vettel smartly defends around the outside there. Now on the lap later, Leclerc this time will go back to the inside line and will breeze his way through. I think Vettel's got some damage on his front wing. I'm sure I saw some damage on that end plate, and I'm seeing so many cars get front wing end plate damage on this game. It's actually a joke how much they get damaged. And now all of a sudden Sam here is back at the lead now. Is having an attack on Reese here in towards 130i. He's going to go for it towards the inside line. They go for it now through there. There's been a carbon fiber that's come off of one of those two cars. That's either Reese or Sam that's got critical front wing damage there in this Grand Prix, and it's Reese that's got the damage on the end plate. So Sam going into the side of Reese there costs him his front wing. Now Reese is under pressure, but he gets in front of Sam, and now Sam will just get the DRS, and hopefully for him he'll breeze through in towards the first corner, and he's going to do just that as they fly through now in towards turn 1. Reese is probably going to lift off because he's got the front wing damage, and that's him through, and Sam retakes the lead of the race. And I was kind of hoping for my own sake that would be Sam with the damaged front wing and he could drop back, but that's not the case. Reese now here is under major pressure from George Russell, and this is where Reese's race is starting to take a backwards turn now. That damage, you can see the carbon fiber piece by there. He's really just taking a knock-on effect now on his Grand Prix here, as George Russell is now trying to find a way through. Reese really just desperate not to lose the position to George Russell, but all the time that they're doing this, their race leader is getting away, and that's not helping at all. What doesn't help George Russell is that Reese got the DRS, so Reese can just stay in front for a little bit longer. What also doesn't help George Russell is I'm still here. I wasn't dropping off that much. I'm actually pulling away from Hamilton, and now I've got George Russell in my sights. Got a bad exit though of the Degner 2, but we can still go down the inside and towards the hairpin. George Russell not really covering it very nicely, and we take the position up into 3rd place now. Next up the road is Reese, and then following that is Sam, and let's see if we can try and do the chase versus Sam. Lap 7 of the Grand Prix now, and we're onto the back of Reese. Took us a little bit of time to get onto the back of him, but obviously with the rest of the lap after we overtook George Russell just being virtually straight lines, it wasn't that simple to get past. Now we're going to use that pace and pass Reese now. So as we go through with the DRS, go towards the outside line of turn 1, and we're going to breeze our way on through just like that. Absolutely fly through on the camera there, and that is us up now into 2nd place. Sam now the race leader, going for the S sections, and now it's about can we close Sam down and get on with it. Meanwhile for Reese though, just a little bit further back on the next lap here, George Russell now is just going to pass him. And again, like, Reese just doesn't have any performance anymore. He's lost that critical piece of the front wing, which he really needs. And now Lewis Hamilton is going to try and find his way past the Mercedes man, unless he can do anything about that and defend against it. But a lap later, alas, that's not the case. Here comes Lewis Hamilton now. George Russell is now pressurizing the back of me, and Hamilton there gets his way through, and he's up now into 4th place. Reese dropping into P5 as we have a little scroll through there of the cars, seeing what they're up to. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix now, and we're coming in for our first and one and only stop of the Grand Prix to go into a set of the medium tyres to take us to the end of the Grand Prix. A little bit of a slide there. George Russell is going to stay out for a lap, but we're coming in at the exact same time as when Sam is coming in. Reese is also coming in for his pit stop as well, so we'll have to see if he changed his front wing, because of course he has got that damage. And there is confirmation, so Reese is changing his front wing. So obviously the damage that he took when Sam made contact with him obviously meant that Reese, I can't remember on the inside, it was Sam on the inside. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a racing incident at the end of the day. But we're going to rejoin though behind one of the Porsche cars, which I believe is Pascal Wehrlein, which is alright because we've just avoided all that traffic. It's Nico Rosberg, my mistake. But we're in P5, so really we're doing a good job of things right now. And onto the end of the lap, now we're going to make our way past Nico Rosberg. Fuel is actually in the negative at the moment. I was actually high on fuel consumption, more than I expected around here. And we're going to safely make our way past Nico Rosberg. We've got 6.1 seconds now to close to Sam in this Grand Prix, to try and hustle him and try and steal the race lead if we obviously can. And Sam has got no traffic at all. I don't have any traffic either, so I'm kind of fine with that. Now, as we're going to have a look at some of the scraps, though, going a little bit further back, that's George Russell there, making his way past Nico Rosberg. So he lost a lot of time compared to us, as the Audi cars fighting side by side now in towards 130R. I believe that's Devon Butler coming out on top in that scrap. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. Yes, it was. So Butler overtakes Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton now is looking to try and make his way past Valtteri Bottas if he can, with the DRS wide open. It might be a 3-wide scenario here because Bottas has got the DRS on Butler. Hamilton has got the DRS on the pair of them. Bottas, though, goes towards the outside line, towards the first corner, gets his way past Devon Butler. Now Lewis Hamilton will try and find his way past Devon, and he does so around the outside. So that's 2 birds, 1 stone for Devon Butler in the opposite order, because he's lost out and he's actually fallen back a little bit now. So Devon losing some time in this Grand Prix. As Hamilton now towards 130R is going to go around the inside of... no, he's not going to go down the inside. But oh, there's a spin there in the background. One of the Ferraris has gone. That's Alonso going into the gravel trap there. His overtake on Devon Butler going horribly wrong there for Fernando Alonso. And now he's got to wait for all of the cars to fly through before he can get back onto the circuit there. That's an awful run for Fernando Alonso, and that's really wrecked his Japanese Grand Prix. And for us, on to lap 19 of the Grand Prix, back on board with us here, we're under pressure now from George Russell. Unfortunately, I cannot catch Sam. So now my only option is to hope that he has a problem with his car, and I've just got to fend off George Russell as we go in towards 130R. Russell goes a little bit wide on the exit of 30R as we obviously give him the tight squeeze there. And now as we go through in towards the chicane here, we're defending quite nicely against George Russell, but of course he has got DRS, which we need to be worried about as we go onto the straight now. Here you can see the DRS will be open for George. There it is now, open for him in the Mercedes as he now comes in towards the first corner here. George now has a look in towards the first corner, but we're just going to go around the outside, defend it quite nicely, take a little bit extra braking in the second half of the corner just to allow the extra rotation in on the car. Lap 20 of the Grand Prix now, and again we've got yellow flags on the start-finish straight, or it's actually towards turn 1, so one of the cars has retired. It looks like one of the Porsche cars. There it is. It's Pascal Wehrlein. So Wehrlein out of the Japanese Grand Prix. We're still trying to go onto the defensive here, and you can see Sam there 12 seconds clear now out front as we're scrapping hard with George Russell in the Mercedes, who definitely had the pace over us in this middle stint. Now obviously I'm just trying to limit the damage in the championship and just make it minimum or maximum, should I say, 7 points in Sam's favour. Now as we cross the start-finish line here, once again, we're trying to use everything we've got. The crucial thing that we don't have is I do not have any form of fuel to use. I really don't. I'm still in the negative, and I'm trying to save it. You can see I'm actually still just saving all of my fuel, saving all of my ERS, and I'm literally just deploying every single piece of it on the straight. That's all I'm doing with it, and just being as slow as I can on the corners. I physically can't catch Sam now, so obviously my thought process was, I can't catch him, so I'll just be as slow as I can throughout the entirety of the lap and be as fast as I can when I need to be. AKA now, as we go in towards 130 out there, George Russell does in fact take the position. He's up into second place, but we switch it to the inside line of the chicane. We outbrake ourselves though, just about keeping the car in towards the remedies of the race circuit, but George Russell does get in front, but we do have the DRS to come back at George Russell, so onto the straight then, we'll re-overtake George and get that second place back off of him, and that is a crucial overtake we really need to be making in this race. Into turn 1 we go. That's the overtake done and dusted, back in our favour, and we regain second place in this Grand Prix. Russell will have to try and come up with another alternative to the attack. Meanwhile though, going on to lap 22 of the Grand Prix, there was a yellow flag there, but it's kind of disappeared. It might have been for Hamilton or for Reese there. We now go in towards 130R, again on the defensive, and you can see that we're doing a phenomenal job of saving up the ERS. We're still, though, in the negative for fuel. We're really struggling on that front, and I was literally trying everything I could to just stop the car from dropping in the negatives, but obviously on this straight I was using rich mix, and then I was in lean everywhere else, because of course here I'm in rich and overtake, and Russell has got his engine turned up because he's still getting past us with the DRS, but again, we could defend around down the inside, we could defend around the outside. It's not that much of a problem, and now you can see here on the end of lap 23 now, we're now in the green on fuel, so we're doing a very good job of saving the fuel. So going towards 130R, just going a little bit towards the middle of the circuit there, because I didn't know how close George Russell was, and I didn't want us to crash like me and Reese did at the Brazilian Grand Prix that time around, so I was just working a little bit more on my spatial awareness there, as now we go in towards the last corner, onto the straight here. That was actually a very, very clean exit, and a very solid final sector. Nothing George can do about it on that occasion. Lap 24 of the Grand Prix though, again, George's best chance to overtake me. It seems to be towards 130R, but again, on this occasion, George just not close enough, and I'm actually going to just drop it into lean and a no ERS. I don't need to use anything here, and even if George does go for the attack, I can just outbrake and defend, because I'll be able to brake later, because I'm carrying less speed into the corner already than George Russell. But now as we go onto the straight here, we can use hot lap, we can use overtake, we can use rich mix. We're just using everything now, and as you can see here, George Russell is going to use the DRS, goes towards the outside line again. I'm covering off the inside line, and I've just got my nice little rhythm going, and defending quite nicely against George Russell as we now go in towards the S section here. Lap 25 of the Grand Prix now. George is going to have a look in towards Spoon there, but a little bit of contact made between myself and George Russell there, as George just clipped the side of my car, which is a little bit awkward. And now as we go on to the end of the race then, Sam does cross the line to win the Japanese Grand Prix. For us though, it is going to be second place in this race, and we did all we could to limit the damage of this championship. And no matter what, the Formula 1 World Championship for Season 4 of the F1 journey will go down to the final race. It will go down to the wire at the Belgian Grand Prix, but of course it's going to be difficult for us as we have a look at the race results now then. So as you can see, Sam takes the race victory here today and picks up 25 points, in fact 26 points, because he did also get the fastest lap as well, 136.7. We finished in second place, 19 seconds behind. Of course, we were fighting for a long period of time, but overall, we kind of were a bit flattered with P2. We probably didn't deserve it. Definitely the two Mercedes cars were quicker than us. It was just a bit frustrating that Reese and Sam, or Reese lost his front wing. I reckon if Reese and Sam continued their fight, we probably could have been in with a good shout of making the moves stick. Lewis Hamilton finishes in P3 for McLaren, so he finishes 22 seconds back. Reese did actually overtake George Russell in the end. So that contact that me and George had, it must have damaged his front wing because, like I said, he didn't trouble me anymore, and he's lost out on 2 places there. Charles Leclerc finishes in P6 for Ferrari. Again, another dismal afternoon for Ferrari, and Alonso lost out as well after being spinning, trying to make an overtake into 130R. Nico Rosberg finishes in P7 for Porsche, best of the rest, you could say, in terms of those that do the one-stop strategy. But crucially, look at the gap this time. Charles Leclerc finishes 35 seconds off, but Rosberg finishes 1 minute and 4 seconds off the pace there. So, yeah, that's mad. Daniel Ricciardo finishes in P8. He was only half a second behind Nico Rosberg in the end. Vettel finishes in P9 and 1 minute and 8 seconds behind at the end. But, of course, he had front wing damage. And then Esteban Ocon for Renault finishing off the top 10. And as we go in towards the Drivers' Championship now, we can see that, again, this is how the championship table looks. And this is how it's going to go in towards the final race of the season. Sam is on 243 points. We are on 226 points, which means that there is a total of 17 points between myself and Sam, which means obviously we have to win this race. We can only finish in the top 2 in the Belgian Grand Prix to win this World Championship. Obviously, if I win the Grand Prix, it will make things easy for me, but of course, I still need to do a lot, to be honest, to actually beat him. At the end of the day, Sam would only need to finish P6 if I won that Grand Prix. And obviously, if I finish in second place, Sam would only need to finish with like a point. That's all he'd need to do. So it's pretty much very much out of our hands, but obviously we'll give it everything we've got. Charles Leclerc is third in the championship on 148 points, with George Russell P4 now on 140 points. So Charles Leclerc is under threat from George Russell in the championship, which is going to be crucial. Reese is in P5 in the championship on 123 points and is ahead of Lewis Hamilton in P6 on 120 points. So Hamilton now is caught up to Reese. So those two are going to be a little bit of a rivalry to see who finishes 5th in the championship. Fernando Alonso is P7 in the championship for Ferrari. Still hasn't even broken the 100-point barrier yet, considering Leclerc's on 148. You could say it's a disappointing season for the Spaniard. Pascal Wehrlein in P8 for Porsche on 89 points. Daniel Ricciardo P9 with 81 points. And then Devon Butler with 72 points rounds off the championship as it stands. And then into the Constructors' Championship we go. McLaren have now won the Constructors' Championship. They have taken it. They cannot be beaten. They're on 362 points, with their closest rivals being us on 277 points. McLaren have had an absolutely sensational second half of the season, caught everybody by storm, and have charged through to take the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari are on 256 points, still within range of us at Red Bull. But if they're going to close the 21-point gap necessary, they're going to have to hope that we have a really bad Belgian Grand Prix, and they have a great one that they outscore us by 20 points, which I don't believe has been done unless we've actually been crashing out of races. Mercedes are on 253 points, only 3 points behind Ferrari, considering where they were a few races ago, and Ferrari at the top of the championship. How times have changed. But can Mercedes now go ahead and leapfrog Ferrari at the end? Porsche are on 140 points, and with Audi being on 130 points, you can kind of say that unless it's a shocking Belgian Grand Prix, Porsche look to have P5 in the championship in the balance. Audi on 130 points. Renault, meanwhile, on 99 points, cannot catch Porsche. They have to get a 1-2 finish, and obviously very, very unlikely that's going to happen. Same with Audi again. I don't think Renault can actually catch them either, to be honest. Of course, no one can be Jaguar, Ford and Williams. They can't catch anyone. Well, they can catch each other if they score points, but that's for another matter. Now, let's go have a look at the post-race notebook and see what the teams and drivers had to say after the Japanese Grand Prix. The first note to take is obviously Sam now takes another critical step to claiming his first Formula One World Championship. As we saw from the Drivers and Constructors Championship, Sam is now 17 points clear of Tom heading into the final round, which is the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's pretty much Tom has to win the Grand Prix and Sam has to finish in P6 or higher to claim the championship. It's very much Sam's to lose. Tom says, speaking of that, he literally has nothing to lose now in the final race. He'll give it absolutely everything. He says that at the end of the day, McLaren has been an absolutely dominant car and one that none of the other teams have been able to respond to. He says that the gloves are off. If he beats him, he beats him. If Sam beats him again in Belgium, he beats him again in Belgium. It is what it is, but he's going to go flat out and try and see what he can do. Finally, Reese is still very angry with Sam after the contact which happened during 130R, which damaged Reese's front wing. Reese says that he could have been in for a very strong fight with Sam, potentially all race long, if he hadn't had the damaged front wing. He felt actually that McLaren were there for the taking here today, and Mercedes didn't capitalize on that and feels that Sam should have been taking some punishment for it, but that is not the case. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for round number 15 of the F1 journey here for the Japanese Grand Prix. Next time around, we'll be over at the Belgian Grand Prix, where it is the season finale, and it's a straight fight. It's myself versus Sam. The gap is 17 points. Who's going to take the championship? We'll have to find out then. Take care, all.